Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Brighton podcast. It's your boy, Jamie Guerra. I am joined by Blessings Chabamba, and we are here to talk about Liverpool vs Brighton this weekend, but we're playing in the Carabao Cup at the moment, and me and Bless are watching it at different times, I might add. So I am about to spoil some things for Bless, and have been doing so already. But Bless, how we doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good to be back on the podcast. It's been a nice little break, but we are back and ready to go again.
And it was a worthy break, and probably a good time to have a break as well, because the listeners probably wanted to listen to us after the Wolves game. But for us, for our own mental sanity, it's probably good, and our careers, that we didn't come on the pod and cuss out Matt Swiffer, Estupinan, in your opinion, and anyone else for bottling the win against Wolves. We've put that behind us, haven't we, Bless? We're looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that we have touched on it just a little bit there. I mean, absolute furious with that result. I called it when we did the crossover podcast. I said 2-2, but in my heart of hearts, of course, I wanted a Brighton win. And I got a 2-2, and I was, disappointed, especially with that last goal, as we spoke about Matt Swiffer. What's he thinking?
What, 2 goals in 5 minutes? Absolute bottle jobs. We were all watching it together, and we were like, what an absolute disastrous performance. Like, how have we let that slip? But hopefully bigger and better things this week. And the Premier League, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because we've bottled a lead, and now we've got Liverpool to play again this weekend, who are sitting second in the league with the best defence in the league as well. So how do you kind of see the game going, Bless?
To be honest, I think it's going to be a very different game to what we're seeing this evening. Obviously, lots of rotation from both sides. And in today's game, we can see as well, Liverpool haven't gone with a striker. Tactically, you can see Arne Slot's been, really making some tweaks and changes depending on what game. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. For us, Salah's not playing tonight, which means
he's being rested.
He's being rested. He's going to be fresh on the weekend. So it's like, you know what you're going to get against Liverpool. It's going to be lots of quality on the break.
They've almost just scored. It's the 32nd minute. Bless, I know you're probably about 2 minutes behind, but Curtis Jones has almost just put them to 1-0 up. But carry on, Bless, sorry.
But yeah, as I was saying, Liverpool have got lots of quality, and they have a chance to rotate players, as we can see from this game. So it's going to be a tough day for Brighton.
Yeah, I saw this lineup, and I was actually thinking this, in terms of our Carabao Cup squad, I was looking at it, matching it up to theirs. I actually thought we're putting out a pretty decent team, and I know I've mentioned it a couple of times about how good our kind of depth is, or maybe even underrated our depth is, but this kind of just shows it all. But like you say, they're going to start bringing on their big guns on Saturday, and we're going to see the lights of Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk, and Konate, who have been like unstoppable, really, in terms of, or you can't play through them. I think they've conceded 5 goals this season in 9 games, which is crazy. What have you noticed about how Arne Slot's been playing this season compared to how different he is to Jurgen Klopp?
I think the main difference I've noticed is the rock and roll sort of pressing football is still there, but I think Arne Slot wants to control games a little bit more. So he's gone with like midfielders who are, technically really sound. They're just going to keep the ball, keep it ticking, that kind of thing, to control the tempo of the game. I've also noticed Trent has maybe improved at defending.
Big
I know he
time.
gets a lot of
Abuse.
pressure, abuse, about his defending, but I think he's been reasonably okay this season. There hasn't been a moment where you're looking back and you're thinking, oh, maybe he got destroyed here again. But I think mainly defensive changes and just tweaks in games is what we see from Arne Slot so far.
Yeah, I think to your point of maybe them pressing a bit less, I think in terms of winning possession in the final third, it's something I noticed and something I was keen to look into before kickoff tonight, and I guess ahead of the weekend as well. But I saw that they were 12th in the league in terms of winning possession in the final third. I'm pretty
Wow.
sure under Klopp they would have been top every season he was there because he was so big into making them make mistakes, pressing them high up the pitch, and just basically being relentless. I think the relentless style is still there. He's still got the players where they do give it all, but I think there is much more surety
Mm.
in the midfield, maybe. Like Gravenberch has been different gravy for them this season defensively, and I guess bringing the ball up the pitch. And I think that's where they can kind of rely on. Where in the past they might not have had that. Maybe last season they didn't really have. They had Endo, who was their main CDM, whereas now they've got Gravenberch, they can kind of just sit on and wait and rely on him to break up play much better than Endo did last season.
Mm.
Although, sorry, Endo fans, I'm not calling him out. I thought he was actually pretty underrated last season, wasn't he? They signed him for like 17 million and he was like featuring in a lot of their games and actually putting in a shift. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's not too bad.
One other thing that both teams are third and fourth in possession. Obviously, we know Brighton are famous for possession. What way do you kind of see that going? Do you think we'll sit back a bit deeper and let them play? Or do you think we'll try and take the game to them?
So from previous, if we look at back to the Newcastle game, we did praise Hertzer a lot for approaching that differently. But one of the main aspects we talked about is he doing that because the lack of personnel, or has he just highlighted this as the best game plan? So I think when we play Liverpool, we will see that because the personnel will be there. That similar game plan might fit this fixture, so we'll see whether or not he goes for it or sticks to his guns, which will be quite interesting.
Yeah, and we'll touch on my next point later. But if we do play how we did against Chelsea, where he was like kind of stubborn in us pressing high at the pitch, then I think that's where we could get affected, and I think that's what we'll touch on after the break. But at the moment, as it stands in this Carabao Cup game, they've got 58% possession at the moment in the first half. So I think I can see us, and I have seen passages of play just even in this game. I know we're playing our B team, but so are they. Of us kind of sitting back and letting them have the ball and trying to break us down, then maybe us playing on the counter attack. I think that could be something we do see. But yeah, as I mentioned, after the break, we're going to be talking about ways me and Bless think Liverpool can hurt us. This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day. And we are back. So, blessings. I've let the listeners know what we're going to be talking about. How do you think Liverpool will hurt us, and where do you think will be our weakest?
Yeah, I think the real battle will be how Estupinan can handle Salah, or if he can handle Salah. I think both teams again might try and control the game, but what edges Liverpool obviously is the star quality they've got up front. So it's a real battle. If we can keep them quiet, I think we're in the game. Stay in the game as long as possible, and pray and hope for some magic from that guy Welbs. I think that'll be good.
It's our only hope. We're relying on that guy Welbs every single game.
He's dangerous.
Of course. I mean, that's what the next topic of conversation will be, how we're going to score against them. The only thing I want to say is how they're going to hurt us. I can see the pace being a real issue. I know we've said that so many times about our back four. There is a bit of lack of pace. Like even if Dunk returns, or if it is Eagle, they're both not notorious for their pace. Let's say in a kind way. So I can see Darwizzy, who I believe will probably be playing, kind of being a bit of a menace, running in behind, the same way Nicholas Jackson was against Chelsea. Like I think if there's one thing Darwin Núñez is actually very good at, it's runs in behind. Although he is, like Jackson, caught offside a lot, he's probably going to look at the matchup and think, I've got the beating of pace for these two easily. And that's kind of how they scored the goal against Arsenal this past weekend. It was a great ball by Trent down the channel, straight to Núñez, who squares it back. And then the finish is there. But that's kind of where I fear them hurting us.
Yeah, no, I'll totally agree with you. And I think that's what I've noticed from this weekend. A lot more teams are willing to, instead of just knocking it around, but actually just chip it over the back four and try and exploit that high line, because everyone's playing really high. And it seems like most people just knock it around. But teams are now starting to just put it there, see what happens. I think even you could say even the Arsenal goal was a little bit like that, just putting it in there. So I won't be surprised if we see Liverpool trying to do that for Darwizzy, because he's quick as well.
Darwizzy, I love that nickname. That's the pacing behind is one of the things I think we need to look out for. But and I think this is where Slot, and I feel like there is still some directness in Liverpool. Like I feel they still do play like they aren't afraid of playing because they've got the personnel to do it, to play the long ball kind of tactic, or the direct ball is probably a better way of putting it. It's not like a hit and hope Burnley type of ball, but it's that kind of philosophy that Klopp often played in terms of just being quick and attacking with pace once they win the ball back. I think that's elements we do still see that in Arne Slot's team, although, like you mentioned earlier, they look more comfortable, look like they want to keep the ball more.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that as well. I think Van Dijk's passing is unbelievable at times. He's definitely got it in the locker to ping it over defences. I can just already see in my head Estupinan just go like this, watching the ball over his head, going over to Salah. Salah cutting in and scoring.
Yeah, I'm not lying. When you were starting that sentence, I was about to say the number of times, even this season, I've seen Van Dijk just ping a ball 60 yards diagonally to Salah. And Salah, this is controversial, guys. Sorry, Liverpool fans.
Here we go.
He's actually
I know
not
what you're going to say.
Imagine if I just started cussing him out. He's actually not good at all. But I swear he's not even that technically gifted, apart from touching the ball down from like 50 feet in the air. Always just like lands on his feet and passes. If this guy actually passes, they're always pinpoint, although he is like quite greedy, but obviously he's got the right to be greedy to take his man on. But like dribbling wise, I think he looks quite clunky, but somehow the pinged balls he touches down with ease. The outside the footballs to the left winger who's running onto it, or the chipped balls into the box are always there. That's actually a worry going into the game. Is Salah can hurt you in many ways.
My thing on Salah, I've always thought this. I've always said he's aesthetically the worst player to watch. But he's so effective. It's unbelievable. And it just doesn't make sense, but it is what it is.
We're just calling for Mo Salah, one of the best players in Premier League history, sending for him. I can't believe it. Well, Liverpool fans are going to like that. There we go. Who are some players to watch other than the main man, the Egyptian king, Mo Salah? Who have you circled as a player to watch? Or is it, like you said earlier, Trent?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Luis Diaz gets on. I think he's had a dip in form, but he's one who's another pacey player. I think you'd want to prove a point. McAllister as well. I think he got taken off quite early against Arsenal. So playing against his former team in Brighton, he definitely want to prove a point, get on the ball and dominate that midfield. So yeah, the questions are, can Liverpool control the tempo of the game, control the midfield to then let off the sprinters up front to score? So there are too many players to pinpoint, to be honest.
Yeah, so true. I was about to say, it's the return. It's the return of the Mac. You know what he is. You know what it is. You know the song? I need to really stop getting these song lyrics into podcasts, because I don't know the lyrics, and I'm not Eminem as a rapper, unfortunately for our listeners. But yeah, it's the return of the Mac.
Eminem sings that song.
Oh right, well, who is it?
I don't know, but I don't think it's Eminem. Right, let's move on.
Yeah, moving swiftly on. Yeah, I think McAllister. I'm gonna like and dislike watching him return or play against us again, just because I love him as a player and he did so much good for Brighton that he's also the most likable guy. But we know his quality. He can hurt us in so many ways. He can dictate the midfield and how they play. And I fear if it is a whiffer in midfield I actually fear our midfield is going to get outdone by theirs, because you mentioned McAllister. Ryan Gravenberch, as I said earlier, having the season of his life. He looks like an absolute machine. He's their version of Belieber. And then Curtis Jones against Chelsea, which I watched on TV, he was unplayable. Like, the late runs into the box, the linking up play with the wingers and with McAllister or whoever it was in midfield. But yeah, he was on a different planet. I've never seen that level of Curtis Jones performance, and I don't know whether that is a common theme that Liverpool fans have been treated to this season, but yeah, he's been quality, to be fair, in that game anyway.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And a couple of things as well we can learn from the last couple of games from both teams is that Brighton have shown that they can be a little bit naive in how they approach a game, i.e. the Wolves game. It's just silly mistakes in the last couple of minutes and you've been punished for it. They're coming up against Liverpool, who are, they'll smell blood before you make the mistake. They'll be so ready to punish you for mistakes. So looking at the game, we've got to, if we're going to lose, let's lose by them being the better team, not us shooting ourselves in the foot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean. I didn't like where that sentence was going. And on that note, it's time for another advert. When we lose, or if we lose, we're never starting that, mate. Come on. We're going to win 5-0.
No, I'm being honest.
And this is our off to an ad break. And after the break, we're going to be talking about how we can hurt them, because we will, bless, all right? We will.
Do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences who are engaged with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. Let me tell you about a platform we use here at Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencastr makes it easy to start a high-quality broadcast built from growth from day one. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes ums, ahs, you knows, and 22 other speech patterns, Zencastr makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
And welcome back to the Daily Brighton podcast. So, Bless, You mentioned that guy Welbs. Is that our only hope of scoring and winning?
Well, at the moment, it looks like it. I'm not going to lie. Just quick shout out to Evan Ferguson, who's back, but the king is still Danny Welbeck, who's on the throne. And also another shout out, because that goal against Wolves was unreal. It was a nice play from both of them, and the finish was really nice from that guy Welbs. So we thought he was injured, but then he just spawned out of nowhere.
He had a quick revive. That's what happens when you get to that age. You have a quick revive button and you're fine.
I can't remember if it was you or Joe who came running towards me with a phone and just shoving it in my face, saying Danny Welbeck's playing.
Yeah, because it was such a shock. I can't believe he actually played. A contusion of the back. He just needed to be stretchered off the week before. There's us looking like mugs on the podcast talking about, he's going to be such a big miss. We wasted our listeners' time talking about how big of a miss Danny Welbeck was going to be for 3 weeks is what we thought it was going to be. Didn't miss 1 minute. This guy played immediately. I was like, brilliant. Well,
yeah, I couldn't believe it, to be honest.
But also, bless, shout out to you, because your boy, after a year of waiting, he is back on the score sheet. It is that guy, not Danny Welbeck. Evan Ferguson, the young prince, has scored for the first time in a year, like you predicted.
Keep cutting out. Oh, okay. You may need to repeat that question again.
I said the young prince has scored, like you predicted. Evan Ferguson. Wow, is that a sign of things to come?
Listen, Jamie, I was correct about Danny Welbeck's form. Look at him. Okay, now I am correct about Evan Ferguson. I think he is the apprentice. Danny Welbeck's the master, and together they will conquer the Premier League.
Yeah, well, I still have less faith, but I'm not gonna lie. Seeing him actually get on the score sheet against Wolves, I was like,
finish.
It was a good finish. I'm not gonna lie. That's actually what we know him for. It was a great touch and a banger, like into the bottom corner. Just power, drilled it bottom bins. That is exactly what I want to see from Evan Ferguson, especially in the absence of Danny Welbeck, or if he does have to come off. I want to see Evan Ferguson step up, because he's not stepped up right now, and that's against Joe Gomez and Jarell Quansah in the Carabao Cup game. This is at half-time, by the way, guys. He might have scored a hat-trick.
He's played 45 minutes. What do you want me to do? Score a hat-trick?
Yeah. But against Virgil van Dijk and Konate, is there any hope of him actually doing anything?
Yeah, there is. He's a good finisher. Like, if we can get him somehow, forget about the defenders, somehow get him in front of that goal for a shot, a free shot.
Yeah.
I'd back him to put it away.
So you want an unmarked Evan Ferguson at the edge of the box with no bodies around him to just have an absolute leather it in the top bins?
Yeah, essentially. If we can get him on the edge of the box with a bit of time to shoot, I think I'd back him to score.
And that's a hope. The other bit of hope I do have is against Arsenal. I did see Andy Robertson get rinsed by Saka. Maybe it's our boy Minter's turn to do a bit of rinsing of the old man, Robbo. He is 30, still playing left back, or maybe even 31. Surely Minter's got the pace on him. Surely he's a bit intimidated by him, by the pace of Minter. That's, I hope, a bit of something we can go off.
Yes, yeah, I'll totally agree. And I think Andy Robertson is slowly going to be humbled. It started with Madueke, who's not really that great. And then Saka's done it. And I think our boy Minte, if he wants to turn his fortunes around this season...
This is the game.
And actually, make some worthwhile contribution. This is the game. Retire Andy Robertson. Stop that man.
Get that on a t-shirt. I know our mate Robbo will like that. Another Robbo, not Robbo. But yeah, it could be 3 games on the bounce of Andy Robertson getting rinsed by the right winger, because he got put on skates by Saka. And we know Minter's better than Saka, obviously. The Gambian king. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky game to come out with a goal and with some points. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, they have the best defense in the league. Their XG is 7.1 in 9 games, so less than 1 XG a game, which is pretty impressive. And ours, guess what ours is, Bless? We're 12th in the league, I think.
15.
Oh, that's a great guess. It's 14.7. So yeah, they've got double. Oh no, we've got double and some of their XG. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game to come out with all 3 points. What is your score prediction, Bless?
Last weekend I wasn't very optimistic. I went realistic. This weekend I'm going to go optimistic. 3-1. 3-1 Brighton. A Danny Welbeck header.
3-1 Brighton. Let me just say this again. The best defense in the league. Said defense like I'm an NFL man. Best defense in the league. They've conceded 5 all season in 9 games playing Chelsea and Arsenal. And their XG is 7. And you think we're going to score 3 in 1 game?
Hey, you've got to dream a little bit. Last weekend, I thought 2-2 was a silly shout when I said it. It happened. Things changed, Jamie.
Didn't. It shouldn't have happened, I'll tell you that. Don't get me started. I'm going to go with a very optimistic 1-0. Snatch and grab. We're going to do them on the counter-attack. We're going to defend for our lives like we did against Newcastle. And that is how we get 3 points.
Nice, I like that.
And I'm going to foreshadow it and talk it into existence. We're at half-time of this game at the moment. We're going to beat them twice in 1 week. It's crazy. I can't believe we're beating them twice in 1 week. Because this has finished 2-0, I reckon.
Mate, this is... That's not going to age well, is it? Let's be honest here. In about 45 minutes, that is just going to be horror.
In 45 minutes, I'm going to be all over the internet, clipped up, saying what a moron. And on that note, every episode, I say something crazy and stupid. And I don't know what's worse, predicting ahead of this game that we're going to win, or doing the return of the Mac. Didn't know what it is. And on that note, it's time to end. I've been Jamie G. That's been Blessings Chibamba. And thank you for listening.
Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.